Hey Stampers, Kim from StampingAtPerfection.com. Thanks for joining me today. So I've been experimenting a lot with alcohol inks. I got hooked on them when Altenew came out with their artist markers, and then shortly afterwards came out with their refills, which are alcohol inkers. So I pulled out what few Ranger alcohol inks I have, and I just started experimenting with those too. Here I've just dropped on a bunch of, these are the greens and the yellows that I have, so I just dropped those onto Yupo paper. And this is actually synthetic. It's not technically paper. It's a synthetic material that's very non-absorbent. And when you drop the alcohol ink on, it just stays on top. It doesn't absorb into the paper, and it dries right on top. Alcohol ink dries pretty quickly because the alcohol itself, I think, evaporates and leaving the pigment behind, or whatever that is. And so you can get all kinds of stuff to go with this. You can get alcohol lift ink, you can get alcohol blending solution, you can get metallic fixatives. Like, there's so much you can do with this. You can do foil over it. There just are a lot of techniques. So I just have been playing with it, and I've been having a lot of fun with the backgrounds. Here's one I created. I actually dropped a bunch of colors on this. I cut two pieces and adhered them together because I wanted to do the double layer technique, but I didn't love it. It was a hot mess. So I took one of these pieces of blending felt with one of the Tim Holtz blenders, and I just kind of pulled the colors all together, and I actually really like the way that came out. Up close you can actually see the different colors that are in there, but it looks sort of like a night sky. So I pulled out this new snowflake background that I got from, that came from Hero Arts, and it was one of their add-ons with this month's My Monthly Hero kit. The alcohol lift ink I got in my Simon Says card stamp for October, card kit for October. Like that full-size ink pad I got in a card kit. So I really love card kits. I'm experimenting with a lot of things I might not have tried if they didn't come in those card kits that I get each month. And that second paper, the white paper, is the leftover ink that was on the stamp after using the alcohol lift ink on the Yupo paper and creating the background pattern. The ink goes on the background stamp, you stamp it onto the wet Yupo paper, then you can stamp that leftover ink onto a piece of white cardstock. So you can essentially get two cards out of the one technique. And I also think these backgrounds would be super easy to mass produce. Like this one I'm going to show you right now. I had seen this done many years ago on the Carol Duvall show. Tim Holtz came on, and he did this. And I think that color is called red pepper. And then I think I have maybe yellow sunshine or yellow dandelion or something. I have a very limited number of colors here. So I'm just kind of squishing them on across this. This is what I saw Tim Holtz do years ago. And that's sailboat blue, that I know for sure. And I'm kind of hoping to make a rainbow. Like, I want the yellow and blue to mix to give me green, and the blue and yellow to mix to give me orange. I'm going to put a little bit of the alcohol blending solution on, and look at that spread over that foam. That fascinated me. So I'm just playing around with my Yupo paper. I'm just going to pull it across. How pretty is this? This is so pretty. And this is putting a thin layer of ink, so this actually will dry much quicker than the drops. The drops I really had to let dry for quite a while. This is pretty much dry at that point, and it stays that glossy. So now I'm going to pull it in the other direction, and you'll notice that I go over a couple spots a couple times. No, starting over there. Don't even notice that I made that smudge. Isn't that amazing? What an easy way to make a rainbow. I love this technique. So I can use this over, there's so much ink on that felt. I could make a whole, like I could make 10 of those, I bet, from just that one inking. So you could easily mass produce backgrounds. But now I'm thinking to myself, I should have done fall colors. It's fall. Let me see what I have. So I'm just going to pull out a few colors that I have. There's an orange sitting in front of me. Orange is fall. So I'm going to do the same thing. And I've got, I don't have a lot of greens. I have a red color that I'm going to put on there, and then a yellow, which is just going to give me more orange. What am I thinking? And then I'm going to put the citrus green. I really like the citrus green, but it's not really, in the quantity I put on there, not really going to give me a fall look. And then I have this stream color, and that also came in one of my card kits. Like I got a couple alcohol inks in one of the card. Actually think with the Simon Says alcohol lift ink, they had a couple Ranger inks in there. And I decided I need some brown, so I pull out the one brown I have, which is sepia. Now I'm going to squish on some of that alcohol blending solution and drag it across the card. This technique is just too much fun. And it looks more Christmassy than fall, so I decided to go across the other way, and it looks like plaid. I can't believe my eyes. I love this. I'm thinking maybe I'll do something else to it, but no, I kind of like the plaid. I think I would like to die cut some leaves or something out of that. I'm going to put this aside and ponder what I'm going to do with that. And next time I do it, I'm going to deliberately create a plaid, but maybe with only 3 colors. So I'm using that same foam, or not foam, but felt, and I have not put any extra inks on. And look at that, I can go back over that a couple times. And now I'm deciding I'm going to drop some ink on. What do these two techniques look like together? So I pulled that stream, and this is how it's supposed to start spreading when you put it on. Now I've got this purpley color. I want to say pickled raspberry, but I don't remember. And it's a pretty pink purple, and I kind of like it. I'm not sure I like the colors together, but I'm going with it. And I'm taking that alcohol that ink blending solution, and I'm putting a drop of that in each of those circles because I love the way it makes those concentric circles. And I put some around on the background. I feel like it looks like colorful tree stumps. I don't know why. I just love the way it looks. It might not be my favorite color combination, and I think when you're doing new techniques or when you get a new product that you haven't used before, you should spend a bunch of time experimenting with it. See what you can do with it, see what kinds of things you can create, see what you come up with, and just experiment. And keep a little notebook on your desk so you can write down color combinations that you love. You'll stumble upon colors that you think are beautiful together. Keep a list of those. Keep a list of the colors that you hate together or that just created mud. Like make a list. And you'll all of a sudden, before you know it, you'll have this list of colors that you can go to and peek at and use for other projects. So I'm going to put this aside because I am going to do something with that. I just love that. And I give it a little time to dry. It doesn't take that long, surprisingly. And I'm putting this in my mini MISTI, and I pull out, I just got this new stamp set from Altenew. It's one of their new releases during October. It's called Golden Feathers. It has a coordinating die set, and I love this stamp set. It's got quite a variety of feather images and 3 big sentiments, and I love big sentiments. Like they just make fantastic cards. You don't have to fuss a lot when you have a nice big sentiment. So I'm going to use the ones that have a lot of detail. I've only done a few experiments with this alcohol lift ink, and I know that I like the more detailed ones better than like the solid images. So I'm just going to put those down, and then I'll pull out the alcohol lift ink, and I already have alcohol ink on my ink pad. It's hard to tell that you have this inked up because that is a super firm foam pad. So it's hard to tell if you have the whole thing completely inked up. It's not a foam pad, it's a felt pad, and it's very firm. So I just do my best. I take a paper towel, and you're supposed to dab at the image first and then buff. So dab first. You'll be shocked how much ink lifts off when you dab. And then when you buff it, a little bit more will come off, and it sort of cleans up the image. And you can see that Yupo paper continues to shine. It's so pretty. Very subtle, the whole lifting thing, especially on a very busy background like this, but I kind of like it. So I'm going to finish up that card later. I'm going to pull out this one because I've decided I want to do an inlaid die cutting technique with this because I just love the colors. So I've already started that. I've taken this to my big shot. I cut out the words wonderful and you with 2 dies from Catherine Pooler. I've got a black card base cut at 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then I created a little secondary sentiment. That is from a Catherine Pooler stamp set. It says amazing. It's heat embossed in white on black. And it's from her Kind of Amazing stamp set. So I've got before I die cut that out, I actually put the Sizzix two-sided sticky paper on the back. And when I pulled it out of the die cut, I saved all the little pieces that came out of the letters. Like the centerpiece for the O came out of the letters. There's that stamp set. And that stamp set has this 3-piece coordinating die for the word kind, and lots of words you can use as secondary sentiments for that giant die. It's really beautiful. I noticed that I also cut a black wonderful out and a black U. Those are from that that foam, that fun foam, craft foam that your kids have. I have black and I have white and I have some fun colors. But since I decided to use that. I really loved the way that black made the colors pop. So I decided to use a piece of the black foam so that I don't have to line it up perfectly because I don't want to fuss too much. So I'm going to keep those centerpieces, but I'm not going to use the foam pieces. I'm going to use the um, ones that actually came from the paper. And I really like this foam technique. I learned this at Alt New Academy. I took a class at Alt New Academy, and one of the instructors said this is how she pops her sentiments up. And the other way to do it is to cut 3 or 4 layers out of like black cardstock or white cardstock and then layer them together with glue. That is so much work. 1 layer of fun foam or 3 or 4 layers of paper is a no-brainer for me. So I'm just adding adhesive where I didn't get it before because I just used a scrap piece of that. Two-sided adhesive. I love the two-sided adhesive, and I love that Altenew tape runner because it's sort of temporary until you really press it down. Plus, it really lets you get in between. See, I'm really pushing down those in between all the letters so that no pieces lift up. And I'm peeling off the back of the wonderful sticky, and I'm going to put that in there. And I'm going to put that in, and I just do 1 letter at a time. Those words really can stretch out, whether you're using just paper or whether you're using the foam. They really can stretch out a lot. So I want to make sure I get the whole thing in there, and I want to keep the F has a hole in the top. I want to keep that hole because I'm going to tuck those paper pieces that were die cut when I cut out the words, and I'm going to tuck the paper pieces into the center where of the L and the F and the E and all the letters that have pieces in there. So this is a little bit of the fussy part. Once you get this part done, the rest of it, this is the only fussy part of doing this technique. And there's so many different ways of doing it. Like you can pop up the outside part and not put any dimension on the words. I could leave it just like this, and that's a pretty card. Or I'm going to take it a few steps further. So I'm going to put this U in there just like that. Now I'm going to take those little pieces, and I'm actually going to use, I'm not going to try, I'm going to try to get the backing off, but I just go use the Altenew adhesive. Now I'm going to actually push those down in those openings so that those pieces sit right on top of the card base. And I've got that little silver tool that I got from Sizzix like 7 years ago. I don't even know what it's called. Um, but I'm going to like push those down in there so they're flat against the card base and they are actually sticking to the card, just like I'm doing here. Now you could, if you have a quick stick or a paper piercer or even your stylus would work to do that. But I want those down there. Um, so when I put the script word on top, that really stands out. So I'll just finish this up so you can see how different it looks with all those little pieces tucked in. And now I'm going to add the die cut word on top of that foam piece, and it's going to stand out above the card because that foam gives it so much dimension. So I've already got my adhesive on the back, and I'm going to do the same thing I did when I put the foam in. I'm just going to peel back a little bit of that and do one letter at a time. And I'm trying to offset it so I get a shadow effect, because that will really make that word stand out. Sometimes when you see them and people don't do that little thing or put a contrasting color of like foam or paper behind, it sort of blends in so much with the card that you can't really see the die cut piece very well. So this helps that stand out. If you're going to do all the work, you really want to be able to see that. So when I get this all on here, you will see that I just put like shift the top piece to the side a tiny bit so that you can see the black foam along the edge of all the letters, and it'll create that shadow effect and really make that word pop. It's pretty sometimes to use like a nice bright color. Like I've used black here, which really makes it stand out. And now that I have that all done, you can see how much that stands out. Now I attached my secondary sentiment with some foam tape, so that's also got some dimension. That was white embossed on black cardstock and just cut right around. And I'm going to add a few embellishments, and I start out here with um, some Studio Katia clear bubbles. I love these clear bubbles. I have the iridescent ones also, and they're the two things I use the most. And when I place these, I try to place them in triangle patterns. So I've created a triangle across the word wonderful, and then a smaller triangle down in the center bottom of the card. I'm going to use, I also like odd numbers of um, the, the sequence and embellishments. So now I'm using my quick stick and my multimedia matte. I love this glue for embellishments because it dries clear and I'm sloppy with it. So it doesn't have a shine to it when it dries, which is really nice. So that's going to complete that card. And I really like the way that turned out. It's quick and simple, and you can see the triangles there with the embellishments and the odd number of embellishments. One of the things I really like about those embellishments is that they're different sizes. I always buy the mix. Now, I'm going to finish off the second card just by adding a card base. So this is cut at 4 1/4 by 11, and I'm going to score that at 5 1/2. And I'm going to add a die cut embellishment, which I already had made. So I'm just going to use it on this card. And as I put that top piece on, I realized that it's a lot narrower than the card base. So I need to do something about that. I could put that right in the middle, but I kind of want to do something that's going to draw a little attention to it. And one of the things I'm going to do is add a strip of black cardstock down the side. That's an inexpensive way to add some contrast and to fill up a little bit of that space. So that's what I'm going to do. And that die cut, by the way, is from Altenew. I've put that on foam, and that blue glimmer paper is a piece of glimmer paper I got from Simon Says Stamps. And I had gotten a piece in one of their card kits early in the spring, and I loved it so much, I bought a whole package of it. It's so pretty. I use that quite a bit. And I'm putting it on that part of the card because I didn't love the way the alcohol lift ink, I didn't quite get enough coverage, I don't think, on the top part of that one feather. So I'm just experimenting to see, do I want to put all black or do I want to just have a thin strip of black and have a little white showing? I decided I want the little thin strip. So I'm putting a little tape runner down, leaving that white edge, and then just lining that black up. And I'm lining it up with the um, crease of the card because I can cut the bottom edge, so I always line it up with the crease. I'm going to pop that top piece up on a bunch of this foam tape. Love this 3M foam tape. And I love the dimension it gives. It just, I don't know, when you add dimension to a card, it's something you can't purchase in the store. So I always enjoy that. So now I'm just popping this up. And, I mean, there's not a lot of elements to this card. I'm just straightening everything out and then pushing it back down. If you don't push down on that foam tape, you can actually move things around, which is what I did. And I love the way those feathers came out. Like, they're so subtle, but up close, like, it's just such a pretty touch. It's just different. I'm trimming that off. I always use the edge of my card just to trim along the edge. And now I'm going to add some um, I'm pulling out the Studio Katia bubbles again, and as I fuss with them, I realize I have this neat and tangled like magic mix. It's got iridescent, like it's got a nice mix of sizes. Whenever you purchase your sequins or your drops or your crystals, you can actually get them in a mix of sizes, or you can purchase like a bag of 4mm embellishments or 6mm or 8mm, and then you could make your own mix. I like to buy the mixes because I love having the different sizes. But if you find something you especially love, you could create your own mix if you wanted to. So I've got those on. Again, I've created triangles. I've gone across the sentiment, and I've got an odd number. And for some reason, I actually find that pretty pleasing to the eye when I do that. Now for the last card, I'm pulling out this um, piece that I did with the Hero Arts background stamp and the alcohol ink background, and I did the alcohol lift technique on that. And I really ended up liking it. It wasn't perfect. It had some parts that didn't come out perfectly, but I liked the effect. So I just wanted to finish off the card just to have this sample. I don't know if I'll send it to anyone, but I will have this sample in my stash so I can refer back to it. And I'm putting it on top of a piece of, it's sort of a fuchsia color, like a purpley pink color of glimmer paper from My Favorite Things. I got that on Wednesday, Blitz Day. They always have a sale, My Favorite Things, on Wednesdays. And I got this a couple of weeks ago. They had a package of glimmer paper on sale with a variety of colors, several pieces of variety of colors, 6x6 paper. And so I put that underneath, I put that between the two layers, and now all I'm going to do is I've die cut a foam piece, and this says Happy Christmas. This is a new Simon Says release die that's got two pieces. It's got the big piece that I cut out in that black foam, and I've got the adhesive on the back, and I'm going to put this diagonally across the card. I didn't like it sideways. It was just too wide for the card when I did it vertically, and then I didn't love it when I flipped the card the landscape way, so I decided I'll just go diagonally over that card. And then I die cut the top piece of this out of the glimmer paper, and I'm going to add that to the top, which required a little fussing because it's very thin. Some of the parts to the letters are very thin, but that's okay. It looks pretty when it's all done. That fuchsia on the black actually is pretty. Now I'm adding some more. This is another Neat and Tangle mix, and it's got like white and clear and a little silvery sequins. It's a variety of sequins in a variety of sizes. Again, you can see I've created triangles across the word, and then I'm just again using my multimedia mat and my quick stick to finish this off. So that's going to complete this card. And I really love the other two. I'm really happy with the way those came out. And I had a lot of fun playing with it. And you can see I've done a lot of crafting today. Everything's coming crashing down. But I've got some spare background pieces that I'm going to craft with later. And later is going to have to be after I clean off my craft table, because I've really made a mess, and now I'm just stacking more on top of that pile that just came crashing down. I've got the white pieces. I don't love those. I need to work on that alcohol lift technique and really perfect that, but the potential is there to really get a couple of cards out of each time you use the alcohol ink background with alcohol lift ink. So thanks so much for watching. I hope this gives you some ideas of things you can do, and don't be afraid to experiment. Certainly there's a lot we can do with these alcohol inks, and this is just a couple of ideas to share with you. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel while you're here. Stop by my blog at stampingimperfection.com. Give this video a like and share with your friends. And I thank you for watching.